Hello, everybody, and welcome to this evening's session. We got a wonderful presentation for you here tonight. We've got Chef Avner Guzman all the way from France. We've got Dan all the way from Israel. We've got Shloimi from Fleischig Magazine. We got Josh, who's usually emceeing our event this evening. So a lot going on tonight. So exciting.
We have a great winery tonight with us that we're going to be showing. One of the newest wineries coming out of Israel. And I think they're taking a fast start into the Israeli wine business. I think they really understood the terroir and where they were making these wines quite quickly. And they got a hang of it. And they're starting to really get some out there. And they're starting to show that they're making some really great wines. Dan, how are you? Where are you calling in from tonight, Dan? And can you tell us a little bit about the winery and how you got involved with it?
Hi, Josh. Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. Hello, everyone. I'm actually not in Israel. I'm in the US, in New Jersey. The wine is Israeli, and the founder of the winery is French. So we have the triangle: New York, New Jersey, France, Israel. The winery was founded 5 years ago. The owner lives in France, passionate about wine. We started with the 2014 vintage. We brought in a very well-known winemaker. His name is Pierre Miodownik. He started making wine in Israel about 10 years ago, and he loved the challenge of taking whatever he learned and whatever he did in France and applying it in Israel. And that's how we developed Nadiv. The name Nadiv, just for the little story, the name Nadiv comes from, we wanted to make sure that we were bringing something very, very true and authentic to Israel. So the term Nadiv comes from the Baron Edmond de Rothschild, which purchased land in Israel in the 19th century, planted the first vineyard at the end of the 19th century, and after he passed away in 1914, 20 years later, his remains were moved to the Har HaKarmel, and his remains moved to Har HaNadiv. And that's how, in 1958, the foundation Yad HaNadiv came to be, and he was known as the Nadiv, the Baron Edmond de Rothschild.
French guys want to go into Israel and start making some wine. They must have been really crazy, or must really have some love for the land, or is it a little bit of both?
It's tremendous love for wine at first, and as everyone knows, considering the growth of the Israeli wine market, and how over the last 20 years, Israel has been able to produce really great wines, award-winning wines, he decided to actually make it in Israel and try to bring something unique. And we'll talk about it.
How has food and wine played a role together with you and what's going on in wine industry today?
It's a great question, because everyone has their own taste, and everyone says red wine with grilled meat, but it turns out to be that if you get a little creative, you can really get into adventures and figure out new ways of tasting food and wine and pairing it together. It might seem a little controversial sometimes, but it turns out to be a great idea to try new pairings and see how it goes together.
You mentioned to us like what you've seen as far as the food and wine coming together in your world, and how it's come together. And how
it's interesting to see. You see the kosher food scene has come so far. It's grown in leaps and bounds, and it's like actually caught up in many ways to the mainstream market. And you see the same thing for the wine. I mean, people were not necessarily into wine the way they used to be. The expensive wines, aged wines were just not available, and now it's become a monster. It's become a beast.
I'm going to throw this over to maybe to Chef Guzman. What's going on over there? Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Where are you, and what do you got in front of you?
Hello, guys. Good night or good morning here. Okay, 3 in the morning in France. I tell you where I am. I am in Normandy, 2 hours from Paris. And look, I'm very excited about preparing this recipe today. What we have today, I think about something that is very French, but I'm twisting into Israeli flavors. So beef tartare is, everyone knows, is deep into French culture. So I wanted to we are going to do together tonight around this wine that has these Israeli roots, but French knowledge. We're going to say like this. Every flavor you find into your shawarma or falafel when you are in Mahane Yehuda, you're going to find it into this beef tartare. So I showed you a little bit around how it happened, everything. So I'm going to be explaining every single detail, every single thing that we have been preparing for you.
Get a little glass of the rosé in there while you set yourself up for the next step of cooking. Dan, and for any of you guys that have the 2019 Rashid Rosé in front of you, Dan, how many vintages rosé have you guys made? And tell us a little bit about this one.
This is our 3rd vintage. We had the 17, the 18, and this is the 19. You can't be in the wine business today if you don't have a rosé, as you know. Even though 10 years ago, I think that there was less than 5 Israeli rosé on the market, if that. Rosé actually, the Israel climate is perfect to grow rosé because you have very warm days and you have cool nights. And it's the perfect recipe to make a great rosé. Now, this one is very cold. It's a 2019. You can see the bottle also on the screen right there. It's a blend of Tempranillo and Viognier. It's 90% Tempranillo and 10% Viognier. Tempranillo is a Mediterranean grape. It's really Spanish grape. It lends itself very well to make a rosé. Let's try it right now.
And the color on this rosé, I think, is beautiful. I have it in front of me. It's got that salmony, fresh color. It's beautiful.
Wow. Probably our best vintage so far. I get watermelon. I get strawberry. It's delicious. It's delicious. I mean, it's starting to get nice here. I know that people are going to start popping up rosé every day in the summer. It just goes well with everything.
So I'm gonna start to prep the meat because I'm gonna do 2 different techniques for the meat. One is French. I'm gonna dice the meat very thin, very small, very, very, very French tartare. Is not grounded in the machine. It's by hand with the knife. And then I'm doing a second technique for the meat that's gonna try to make a kind of paste with meat and all the seasoning I'm gonna put into the tartare. And this is a technique that came from Lebanese cuisine.
And Avner, could you tell us what cut of meat is that? Is that like Delmonico or oyster?
Okay, this is something we call oyster in America. So what we do is we try to make very thin slices that after, I know some people's gonna ask, you don't use glove in France? No. We need to feel, we need to touch, we need to get this contact. Of course, we need to wash the hands before touching the meat and after too.
Can you tell us about the knife you're using?
This knife, actually, this is a knife special for fish. The angle of the knife is special for fish, but I'm so used to this knife that I love this knife.
I run around to it and I see a lot of stores. I'm in and out of a lot of stores, and I hear a lot of customers walk into the store and they say, hey, Josh, I'm cooking a roast tonight. I need a cheap bottle of wine. And I say to them, would you ever walk into your butcher and ask him for a cheap piece of meat? And do you have any opinion about cooking with the quality of the wine that you're actually cooking with in your dish?
Okay, listen. There is no such a thing like cheap or expensive. When you say expensive, means that the value of the thing is not the real value. Or when you say cheap, you are saying exactly the same, especially for wine. There's few wines that are the price are very reasonable and are amazing, outstanding wines. So again, this is not a criteria. Of course, you understand when things are good and when things are bad. I mean, you see when you meet people who work, you understand what passion means, and passion doesn't have price.
We're going to jump into, I think the next one on the list is the Rashid Red, if I remember correctly, right, Dan?
Yep.
That's correct.
So Dan, can you tell us a little bit about the blend of this, what it is, and why you like it so much?
So this is the Rashid 2017. It's a blend of mostly Cabernet with some Merlot and a tiny bit of Cabernet Franc. Now, if you know the brand, you realize that all of our wines, except for one, are blends. The only one that's not a blend, this one, our flagship, which is the Elion 100% Cab. It's new. It used to be that we only had blends. One of the reasons for that is that our winemaker, Pierre Miedovnik, is the one that started to make high-end kosher wines in the 80s in France. And for 30 years was known as the pioneer in high-end kosher wine. All the big chateaux. He was the one making all the big chateaux. In France, when you drink French wine, you should know that there is a 99.99% chance that you're drinking a blended wine. In Israel, it's not so common. In Israel, you have a lot of 100% Cab, 100% Merlot, 100% Syrah. It's very different in France. Now, our winemaker, Pierre Miedovnik, basically said, I want the sum of the parts to be greater than any part taken by itself. So he's blending these grapes together, and he's very careful about when and how to grow these grapes. So in Israel, because of the weather, grapes tend to get very ripe. Our wines are not extremely oaky. They're very elegant. So they're unique in that sense that they're not overripe grapes. They're much more elegant. So this one is a perfect example of it. You have mostly Cabernet. You have a little bit of Merlot. You have a tiny bit of Cabernet Franc. It's 65% Cabernet, 30% Merlot, and 5% Cabernet Franc. Let's try it right now.
And that's considered a Bordeaux blend.
It's a Bordeaux blend, exactly. Why? Because in Bordeaux, most blends are made out of Cabernet and Merlot. Exactly. It's very fruity. It's aged 12 months in French oak. It's a very affordable, approachable, fruity, easy to drink wine that can be drank right now. This is our 2017 vintage.
So it's a great value.
And the chef is ready to go. He's on his second glass at 3 a.m. See, the French know how to hang. If this was anyone else, they'd be like, I can't drink at 3 a.m. And, this is why we love the French.
This is real life. This is real life.
So I have a couple of quick questions. One for Dan, then I'll shift over to Avner. Dan, what's the breathing time suggestion on the Nadiv Rashid? Like how long you would open it up and let it breathe for how long?
I would open it about an hour and a half before drinking it. It's very, very approachable right out of the bottle. But I just like with every bottle, whenever I open a wine, I do some trials. It's trials and error. So it turns out that this is the kind of wine that I open on a Friday night. I'll drink half of it on Friday night, and I leave it for Shabbos morning. And on Shabbos morning, I'll try it, and it just developed new nuances. It it just works out even after 12, 15 hours of being open.
I know with like sushi and stuff, you're told to like freeze the fish and then defrost it because you're eating it raw. Do you do the same for the beef, or do you just
No.
Okay, all right.
The
Josh.
development of bacteria in meat and in fish is different. So yes, we have to be careful when you are preparing any kind of food, especially raw food. Very big issues. So, but I don't use frozen meat in order to make tartare.
So basically, you don't have to freeze it before. You don't even do that for fish, but for sure not for the beef tartare. Just make sure you're getting fresh meat that is handled properly. It stays in the fridge until you're ready to use it, and then you should be good to go.
At this point, I already cooked my meat. I'm gonna put back into the fridge. I'm gonna keep here the part. I'm gonna use I'm sorry. How do you call this in English?
Pot, no? Oh,
No.
this.
Masher.
Now, as I'm breaking up the meat, the color is gonna change. It's gonna become a little bit white because oxygen is starting to get into the red meat. Okay, so I was living in England. I fell in love with cooking, and I said to myself, this is my purpose in life. This is what I was born for this.
Talk a little bit about the inspiration of chefs from overseas coming over here and inspiring chefs, locally.
Well, that's a good question. I mean, someone like Avner has been coming here. He's got such a big resume. He does really unique stuff. He's been landing gigs here. There are people here that really enjoy. They feel his passion. They enjoy his cooking. He's here a couple times a year. We were lucky ourselves to catch him the few times that he came. They were always random. It was like, I have a few hours. Let's go to there was one time he came, it was the middle of a shoot. We went to Gourmet Glatt. On the spot, we decided, let's find ingredients, let's do something. And he went with the flow, and he put out the dish that he put out in a matter of 2 hours. He was really on the way to the airport. It blew everyone away. It was like really way beyond the traditional fare that we're used to. So I think people are more into tasting. They're more into, fine dining. And there is definitely a demand for chefs like these.
Shlomo, would you also agree that people are willing to try new things these days?
Much more, definitely.
What makes French cuisine great than other cuisine? It's not that French are better than Spanish or than Italian. What makes the difference is French people start to write down, to compile all the recipes and to put into books. And that gives to French people like the advance about everyone, because if we saw the story, French learn from Italian. When Catherine de Medicis moved on from Italy to France, she brings 40 chefs. And the chefs were the only people beside militaries who were able to have these big hats, and they were the only ones who were allowed to have a sword. So actually, the people who teach French to cook were Italian, but the French people compile, put all together in this is the halakha. This is how we have to make. So, and as every story of writing books, there were people who said came from this company. So tartare came from came from Mongol people who eat horse, and then in France, all around Europe, people were eating raw meat. But in France, the actual recipe of beef tartare is ketchup, cornichon, pickles, how you say cap? Capers,
Capers,
onion, and egg yolk. That's it.
Dan, what do you
No mustard?
what do you
Or
think
everything?
the reason that we have all these foodies and all these chefs and everybody who's so into food joining us for Nadiv wines? Like, what is it about Nadiv wines that goes so well with fine dining and great food?
I truly believe that Nadiv introduced this idea that you can make wine in Israel that's not overly oaky, that's elegant, and without grapes that are overripe. And when you're drinking a wine that's really oaky, I'm not going to name any names, but when you drink a wine that's overly oaky, it doesn't really give you room, it doesn't give you space to taste the food. With wines such as Nadiv that are more elegant, less oaky.
Yeah, no, that's a great answer. And with that, I think it's a perfect segue into the next wine that we're trying here, the Matan.
Let's talk about the Matan. This is the 2017, age 15 months in French oak. So this is the typical Bordeaux Blend. So Bordeaux Blend is a wine made out of Merlot and Cabernet Franc with a tiny bit of Cabernet Sauvignon. If you look up Bordeaux, you're going to see that it's usually exactly the way it's described on the bottle here, which is 70% Merlot, 25% Cabernet Franc, and 5% Cabernet Sauvignon. So Merlot is the predominant grape here. It's a very, very rich, elegant, smooth wine, and it's just a unique wine. A lot of people get to the Matan and say things like, "I've never tasted anything like this," because they're used to different style of Israeli wine. And here the challenge for Pierre Miedovnik was to grow the Cabernet Franc to associate with the Merlot exactly at the right time. So Cabernet Franc happens to be the parent of the Cabernet Sauvignon grape. A lot of people think that Cabernet Sauvignon is the reference, but Cabernet Franc is actually the parent. I smell plums. It's very plummy from the Merlot. Dark cherries, very dark cherries. This is the 2017. There's some chocolate too.
Let's throw it over to the chef maybe and see. Let's make sure the chef gets his third glass of wine this morning. Early for him.
Chef is already drunk, 3 in the morning. So I'm gonna start to show you a few things. This, my wife was saying to me, you have to make a tartare, only one. But I spent the whole day since the morning when I wake up, doing stuff. And she was like lost. She was, how many tartare you have to make? And it's only one. So what they have here, what is this? I ask you, people have to guess. What is this?
Oh, I can see.
Is it a
Nutmeg.
chickpea?
Is it a Cocoa Puff?
What you said?
Cocoa Puff.
No.
Chickpea?
Yes. Deep fried chickpeas. These are the stuff we're gonna remember. Just imagine for a moment. Let's figure out that we are all together. And when we're going to try this tartare, I want you to go from New York, from Five Town, from wherever you are, and travel direct to Mane Yehuda. And then in each bite, and then from there, you're gonna came back to Paris. Because that's the magic of cooking. So, of course, I have to twist stuff.
Any bulgur?
No, not bulgur. But you're right, because I didn't found bulgur. But for the first mix, actually, what I put in the mortar, you have to put bulgur then, and then tack, make the paste with the bulgur. Thank you. Eggplant. I know, it's difficult to...
Deep fried.
Deep fry and then dry up gently in the oven.
Oh.
Why? A dish like tartare, you have to have all kind of textures. Meat is a little bit, how you say this?
Soft. Chewy.
More than soft. Yeah. And then you need something why we drink wine? When you are eating, you have to have feelings, sensations in your mouth.
Different mouthfeel.
The part of your body that has more connections is your mouth. So you need crispiness, you need fattiness, you need the whole run. So it's like you need to go up and go down, go up and go down. And then that's when the wine came.
What are we seeing down the line for Nadiv Winery? What do you guys have upcoming? Do you have any cool new projects coming? Can you talk to us about what's down the road?
I can't say too much, but I can tell you that soon we're gonna have our Yekev, allowing visitors to come and see our process. We may have some Mevushal wines coming down the road as well, for a broader market. And we just keep expanding.
Which one would you say has the best aging potential, and how long would you age the wines in general?
So let's start with the rosé. The rosé within a year and a half after it comes out, you should probably drink it. But it's still drinkable after 2-3 years, even though some people think that it's not. The Reshit can be drank up to 5 years without a problem. The Matan can go up to 7 years, and the Elyon should probably be aged for at least 8 to 10 years.
So we just chopped the onion. I don't know if people want me to show how to chop the onions properly.
Could you show us how you sharpen a knife properly?
Oh, there's two different ways. You have this called fusil here in France. I have actually this one that is Japanese, all the way from Japan. And then you have a stone. So this is to keep the sharp of your knife. This is a little bit like stronger. So you have to know how to use. Listen, this is the root of the onion. The first thing when you're in culinary school that you learn is this. You cut your onion, and then this is how you do this cut in the onion. You hold your onion, 1, 2, 3, but you don't go until the end. So why I'm doing this? So the root is holding up my onion, so I come here, I do once in the middle, and if it's very big, you do twice. Always you have to be careful with your fingers, and then you start to cut. And remember, your knife is not this part of this part. There are people who just like this, and this is smashing your onion. So here, you don't have this sound of you are cutting up and you're using your whole knife, and that's it. Okay, very quickly, what we're gonna do here, we're gonna put pignon. How do you say pignon in English?
Pine nut.
It's very hot. We're making something that we call torrefaction, torréfié. These grains have oil inside. So the way to take out the oil, and the oil is flavor. The only way to take out the flavor is heating up. My hands are clean, 100% clean, so onions, pickles. I'm sorry about you. You are not smelling this. This is heaven. Oh my gosh. Za'atar. Olive oil. Someone can guess what I was missing on the list of ingredients. Black pepper. But something I always put on all my dishes is love. Everyone who knows me knows that before I start to cooking, I said, "Enot mi levado," because since I make teshuvah, I understand that everything came from Hashem. I add some berros, red pepper. Okay, so far, putting it into the tartar. So far we have, okay, if you are preparing this at home and you are not eating right now, but you don't want to put this back into the fridge, what I suggest to you, you're gonna take 2 bowls. In this one, you're gonna put ice, and you're gonna put your meat into the bowl with ice, in order to keep your meat fresh. What the music is floor the cell.
Someone's asking if you put brandy in tartare.
Yes, the French recipe has brandy. I love this.
Sardines.
Sardines?
Sardines.
Could you guess what it is?
I know.
What is?
Yellow beets, golden beets.
Almost.
Carrot.
No. What is?
Pickled radish.
No. This is red bell pepper.
Which pepper?
Red bell pepper.
Someone wanted to know if you added the pine nuts and the mustard seed into the diced meat already, or is that I see you're adding the pine nuts now, so I guess that you add it later.
Actually, I add in both preparations. The only difference is the first I mash with the pesto stuff. So means you have the flavor, but it's mixed. It's like a paste. Mm-hmm. And the second one, when you're gonna eat, you're gonna fill up the
texture.
The texture, yeah, that's the point. Okay, now my crunching.
How important do you think the egg yolk is? And I know in cuisine recently, it's become a big thing. You know, egg in your hamburger, egg in this, egg in that. But for tartare, how essential is it? Obviously, you're doing a variation without it, but for a traditional tartare.
Okay, do you know the Mishnah Berurah?
Depends which part, and probably no.
I know. I mean, this is egg yolk on a tartare is
tartare without egg yolk is blasphemy.
Moshe received the Torah from Sinai, from Har Sinai. You have to have. Today,
but it's more for texture and consistency than for flavor, correct?
No, it's for biting. Eggs, there is 2 kinds of emulsion in cuisine. Stable emulsion and unstable emulsion. Unstable emulsion is you take oil, and then you put some vinegar, you shake it, tack, 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 and then you're gonna have an emulsion that in 5 minutes after gonna separate again. But when you put something that binds the fat with the water, that is called lecithin, so make the water and the oil stick together, and the eggs make this. So when you have meat and when you have vegetable have water inside. So the egg is there to bind these 2 textures in your mouth because of the lecithin. Okay, I'm using here. This is called chiso. Chiso is micro green and has the flavor is between cumin and mint.
And how much would a dish like this go for in a restaurant, or when you're chefing around? Like, what is the cost of this dish?
This dish Actually, to be honest, I don't know if you're gonna find one dish like this in any kosher restaurant. Regular restaurant have to be, this dish is like 25 to 30 euros.
So here it's about $55, $60.
Yeah, in America, I don't know why everything is expensive. Okay, now what we have here. Baba Ghanoush. Okay, I'm living in Normandy. It's very hard to find pita, kosher pita. So I take pandemi. How you say pandemi?
White bread.
White bread. And then I just put into two stuff, flat, and in the oven with olive oil.
Quick question, Avner. Like I see the sauces you put on top. What's your take on like foams? You know, like you could have made it into a foam. Do you prefer the density of the sauce the way you made it? Do you like working with foams? When would you make something a foam versus a sauce?
Was on my mind to make a foam. I am a very huge fan of foam. Very huge fan of foam. Very. I mean, once per year I am going to Spain, where it used to be, no, it is the best institute or research for molecular gastronomy. What is this? This is the water where I cook my chickpeas. Okay, this is already well known, but it's so cool to see.
It beats up.
Yes. Why? Because it has the same proteins that you have in the white egg.
Dan,
Yes.
I see that you really want to be eating this dish, but
Oh
you're
my
you're
God.
drinking.
I think I should fly to France right now.
Which of these wines would you, if you had the dish in front of you, you have all those wines, which one would you go for first to eat with the tartare, to drink with the tartare?
So honestly, I would start with the rosé, and I would start dipping into these little condiments that he had on the side. I would take a little bit of the pepper, a little bit of the pickles, just to start. And then I would move on to the reshit for the actual meat. And once it's fully ready, I would break the matan and have everything combined together with the matan. It looks amazing. It looks amazing. It's our pleasure. It's our pleasure. We're honored to have such a chef to display his talents in front of everyone like this. I mean, it's just a shame to look at it and not being able to.
It's like the forbidden fruit. You can look, but you can't eat.
So this is how my dish have to look. So you have the first on the bottom, this paste that remember this Lebanese recipe.
Yeah.
And then exactly. Then you have the French actually stuff from the tartare, and then everything that we used to have in a shawarma at Mahane Yehuda. So you find it here.
It almost looks like a dessert.
That's the point. And then you put your
Foam. Your chickpea foam. Could you show us again how thick that salt is, and that's thinner than Maldiv, right?
Maldon.
Maldon. Thinner than Maldon salt.
Maldon, this is Camargue, but salt de Maldon is almost the same. But this is Rolls Royce. This is
So we don't have this here.
Chef, someone wants to know if you can make a foam with wine.
Yes, of course. Of course, you can make foam with wine. You can, with molecular cuisine, there is not borders. You can make molecular cuisine. You can make like whatever you want.
I don't think we've ever had so many people stay on so long. I mean, it's amazing. It was a fantastic session with great food, great wine, very interesting. Bravo, all around. And I'm also really happy that it was the right, the right winery with the right chef. The Israel, the French, everything came together. The only thing that's missing from this session is that not everybody gets to taste it right now.
Soon, maybe we can make something actually real. I mean, after this whole crazy coronavirus, we can organize something.